This week we are looking at the Greeks, war and culture, and this is just a little look to get us ready to read more about the Greeks. So we often start with Greek geography, and if we take a look on the left, I love this one, it gives you a good sense of the topography. Greece is made of mountains, and this is going to have a huge influence on their political organization because they are separated from one another for the most part, so they are going to be independent city-states, much like we saw at the beginning of Mesopotamia. They are also a peninsula, in fact a couple of them, that stick out into the Mediterranean and the Aegean seas. We have the Adriatic and the Ionian around them, and this means they're going to be seafarers, so they're going to eat seafood, and they're going to be communicating with each other largely through water exploration. Trade is going to be important over water. If you look at the map on the right, you can see some of the big city-states. Two that we'll be focusing on are Athens and Sparta. They have very, very different lifestyles, and they end up fighting with one another for control of Greece. The Greeks have mythic origins. Early in their history, before the Dark Ages, they had a Dark Age that ended around 800 BC when the author Homer wrote down the stories of the Trojan War. They had a mythical war, which was probably historic in origin, so a real war that took on mythic proportions, kind of like Gilgamesh, with the city of Troy. And in Homer's epic, he talks about independent city-states, each who have their own king, and there's one king who's kind of the king of all the kings, and that's Agamemnon. So you see the mask of Agamemnon, although it wasn't really him. On the left, this mask is a death mask that was found at the city of Mycenae, archaeological excavation. To the right, you see the lion gate of the city of Mycenae, and the lions' heads have fallen off, but you can see some Egyptian influence in the architecture there with the column, and the lions might remind you of some of what we saw in Assyrian art. So you can see where Troy is at. It's on the coast of Turkey, so they would have had to sail there. And the story is that the Spartan queen Helen was taken by one of the sons of the king of Troy, a prince named Paris, and she was taken from Sparta to Troy, and so she is sometimes called the face that launched 1,000 ships because the Greeks, the Mycenaeans, left their homes to go recover Helen and regain their honor, because you don't take someone's woman when you live in a warrior culture, and that's what this culture was. It was very much a warrior culture, and those warrior values of honor and reputation are going to inform later Greek culture. Archaic Greece goes from the end of the Dark Age, like I said, 800 BC to 480 BC, and we'll see why 480 in a minute. During this period, they're spreading their wings, literally and figuratively. They are spreading out. So on the map on the left, you can see all the dark blue, where the Greeks established colonies. They really successfully populate their little rocky peninsula, and they send excess population all throughout the Mediterranean. Notice they're in Italy. The Romans run into Greeks in Italy long before they run into them in Greece, and Greek culture that way. They are figuratively spreading their wings in terms of their culture. You have the image of the Kouros figure, who looks very Eastern. He has Eastern-looking eyes. He has kind of that Mesopotamian-looking curly hair. He's got an Egyptian pose with his fist at his side and his foot forward, very stiff. The pot, the crater, it's called, near the bottom there, is a geometric style. You can probably see why. It's made of a bunch of little geometric shapes. I love this little version of the horse and the chariot. Again, this has a lot of previous cultures, in this case Minoan from the island of Crete, influence. So they're taking what's around them and tweaking it to fit themselves. The object on the far right is a herm, and these were little figures that were used to mark doorways. And yes, that is a phallus on him. The phallus is usually good luck. In the ancient world, we'll see this with the Romans as well. So they would have marked doorways. The Persian Wars start in 499 and go to 449 BC, and this is kind of going to end the Archaic period. And there are two different wars, so the 480 is kind of marking the second one. Both times we have Greeks fighting the Persian Empire, first under the Emperor Darius, second under Xerxes. And the first Persian War is not a huge deal. It's mainly the battle at Marathon, which you might be familiar with. And the second one is the Battle of Thermopylae, which you're probably more familiar with. That's the movie 300 is based on that battle. And there's another really famous battle, the Battle of Salamis, which was a naval victory. And basically what happened is the Spartans fought on land and the Athenians fought on sea. They divided up the labor that way. And we have an actual historical account of these wars from the historian Herodotus, and this is called an actual history because he doesn't say the gods did it. He looks at actual human reasons for the wars. The classical age follows the Persian Wars because the Greeks win, and really they shouldn't have. If you think about the size of the Persian Empire on our map, it doesn't look so big, but if you think back to our first couple of weeks, the Persians go way past this map, so they're much bigger. So the Greeks felt pretty good about themselves. They're very optimistic. They talk about moderation in everything being the rule for life. They have a lot of confidence. And their art portrays this. Everything is fantastic. So you see them working on realism and proportions. They're really perfecting the portrayal of the human body. So on the left you have this little pot, and on the right a warrior from a temple pediment. So things go really well for a while, and then they start to fall apart. And that's in 431. We have the outbreak of the Peloponnesian Wars, and these are wars between Sparta and Athens and their respective allies. So the map is showing you this. You have kind of the Spartans in purple and the Athenian side called the Delian League in red. And they're really fighting for control of the peninsula. And it ends badly. Sparta wins, and Greece really starts a downward spiral. They have used all of their resources fighting each other, and we're going to see a lot of pessimism and questioning in the culture after this. In less than 100 years, they will be taken over by the Macedonians, and we will see the rise of Alexander the Great and the Hellenistic Age, which was what we'll be looking at next week. So again, really brief overview, kind of where the Greek unit is going to go, what you're going to see and read, and I look forward to exploring further with you.